Tonight we're going to talk about making Angular prettier. So I'm one of the co-founders of ngconf. Has anyone been to ngconf before? Got a couple people? Cool. If you haven't gone, you should go. It's a lot of fun. We spend all year making sure that people have a good time there. I just started a new company called Hero Devs. We're basically an elite team of, right now, Angular engineers that we work on enterprise projects for big companies. And if we all work from home, we all make our own hours, and we all make a lot of money. So if anyone's looking for a chance to write Angular from home and change some stuff, let me know. I'm also a father of 5, which discredits me a bit because that means I'm crazy, and it's hard, right? Every kid makes it worse. But and then I loved ice fish, so that's kind of my thing. That's my favorite sport is ice fishing. So today, though, we're going to talk about Prettier. Has anyone used Prettier before? Okay, we got 1, 2 people. 2. We got a downloader. Anyone downloaded it? All of Moment. Your whole project's on Prettier.
No. But we have an NX monorepo, so everyone has to use it.
Okay, good.
They don't know it.
All right, no one else uses it. Raise your hand if you don't use Prettier. Okay, cool. You are listening. Okay. So check us out. Yet. So here's the thing. There's like this weird thing in the Angular community where it's like, oh man, Facebook made that. And they also make React, so we can't use Prettier. And there's weird stuff in the React community too, right? Like TypeScript, we got to use Flow instead. And that's crazy. I don't know who would choose Flow over TypeScript, but whatever. The communities are weird. That's all I'm pointing out, okay?
Cultish.
Yeah, we got to get over it because I'm here to tell you tonight, Prettier is awesome. So I used to work on a giant team at Domo. There's 65 of us on one single page app. Okay, imagine that. It was stupid. Probably like working in a monorepo, right, at a giant company. It's stupid though. No page refreshes. Everyone's code shipping in the same Webpack build. Anyway, anytime someone flipped one ESLint rule, everyone freaked out, right? Because it's like, hey, you know what? We didn't talk about that, and that affects 64 other people, right? So anytime we wanted to flip a TSLint rule about styling or just enforcing something petty, it was a giant discussion. It was like, hey, are we really going to do this right now? And it got heated, and it was petty. Has anyone done this kind of stuff before? Anyone experienced this? Yeah. If you've used lint, you know what I'm talking about.
We just decided not to use TSLint.
Yeah. With varying levels of pettiness, if you've used ESLint, you know what I'm talking about on a big team. Okay, and then additionally, it's frustrating because you get some rules on that's like after the closing print on the if statement, you got to have a space between the opening brace on the if block, right? And if you don't do it, your code's red, but you didn't even finish typing yet, and you already got it's already highlighted red, and you're trying to just finish your thought, but there's red squigglies there. Who knows? You know what I'm talking about, right? Or God forbid you put in a double quote when it's supposed to be a single quote, and now there's red everywhere, right? So Prettier solves this stuff, all right? That's what I'm here to talk about. With Prettier, what you're saying is Facebook basically decided a ton of those things for you, and you're surrendering those decisions to the Prettier team. And the Prettier team gives you some options, but it's mostly not optional, okay? Does that make sense? And I'll show you some of and it does some cool stuff if you chain 2 function calls, it'll put them on one line, but you had a third one, it's break them all up into 3 lines now. It decides certain things for you. It will sometimes put them on one line, it will sometimes start to break them off, and all you have to do is write the code and hit save, and then it will kind of do the thing that you're expecting. Does that make sense? Okay, So, all right. That's what Prettier is. So, if you've ever felt the nightmares of the big team, TS-Lint, ES-Lint battles, squiggly lines in your IDE, Prettier helps solve some of that stuff. So here's some useful links. And I'm going to share my slides at the end. You'll see the link to the slides. So you can get these links. So Prettier's at prettier.io. Everything you need to know about Prettier's on Prettier.io. No matter what IDE you use, there's instructions on how to integrate with your IDE. Okay? VS Code people, raise your hand. Okay, you just install a Prettier extension. It's easy. Okay. Couple steps. You just got to go through a couple steps. Okay? It's simple though. I'm going to do it live. You're going to see it live, so just so you can see how easy it is. It's not hard at all. Any other IDE people? Shout them out. Nobody? Adam? Brackets? Eclipse. We just pass out. All right. Okay. Now, a few months ago, I wrote a blog post called, I clickbaited it just because I wanted to try and get it out there a little bit. I call it the Ultimate Angular Prettier Cheat Sheet. It was just to try and deliver the message of Angular people, stop being stupid, stop rejecting this because it's Facebook. Like, it's a rad tool. So you can go check out that cheat sheet. It's going to go into some depth that I'm not going to cover tonight probably, but it takes you just through the essential steps. Tonight I'm going to make it even easier than that blog post though. That blog post will simply inform you on what's going on. After I wrote that blog post, a dude in Denver, has anyone here written a schematic? An Angular schematic? Okay, I haven't either. You have?
Yeah, we're playing with it.
Okay. So a gentleman wrote a schematic called Prettier, and you just run it in your Prettier repo, in your Angular repo, and it adds Prettier to your Angular project. Okay? Including a pre-commit hook that any changed files will just get Prettierified in case you forgot. In case your IDE wasn't set up or you forgot. So it's like it's easy to prevent with that schematic. So there's not a lot of excuses unless you're like running a custom Angular build and you can't use the schematic. Then you can refer back to my blog post. And then in preparation for tonight, I just wanted to show everyone how easy it was. So I went out to this gentleman's. This is his package he's deployed on NPM called NGX Infinite Scroll or Virtual Scroll. Sorry, has anyone used this before? If you have a long list of things, use NGX Virtual Scroll. It's fantastic. Okay, it allows you to put 1,000 things. You could do NG4 over all of them, and the Virtual Scroll will only paint like whatever is currently visible on the screen. It's really powerful. Makes it really easy to have really long lists, but performantly. Okay, so I went to his repo because I've used him. I was like, hey, I'm just going to Prettierify your project. It took me about 10 minutes, start to finish, and I PR'd it. And the Prettier team's like, hey, mention us in your pull request, or go tweet at us the PR so we can see it. So, yeah, it's actually really pretty simple. It creates a Prettier ignore file because there's some files you don't want Prettier to do it on, like the package.json is a specific one. It adds the pre-commit hook I was telling you about, installs Husky and lint stage in Prettier. You create your Prettier config, and these are literally the only options you get. Like, so imagine your whole ES-Lint rules and your TS-Lint. Imagine you get like these 10 options, okay? Like that's what's happening. 15 options, and then it just went ahead and reformatted his stuff for him according to the rules that were in the thing. I asked him to comment on it and give me feedback, and I can change the rules and rerun the config. But yeah, it's really simple. Once you get it in, if you want to reformat the whole project, you just run. You just run that guy right there, that command, and it will run your whole entire project. So, oh, sorry, it's missing this piece over here. And then it goes on your whole project. So it's actually really easy to do. So before I get in and do it, let me just explain one nuance. When you put Prettier in, Who here works on a medium to big project? A lot of us, yeah? Okay. So you have to decide what your Prettier strategy is, okay? Because you either need to Prettier every single file and do a big commit. That's one option. The other option is don't Prettier any files, just put it in. Have all your developers configure their IDEs so that things are getting Prettiered as they save. And then any file you go into, if you change one line of code, let's say you make a change and then undo your change and save, that file is going to get all Prettierified, okay? So even though you didn't make any changes, Prettier is still going to be like, hello, and it's going to take care of it. So, so Prettier will take months and months and months to kind of get all throughout your whole entire code base that way. But look, these are your options. Some people want it to be slow process. Other people want it to be all done at one time. I'm just explaining that because when I sat down to do it, I was like, which one of these two options? Like, they appeared to me instantly. These are my two options. Which one should I pick? And I realized it's going to be different per company, right? For me, it made sense to just do the whole project just to get it out of the way. Other teams are going to be different, and I realized that. Especially like in a monorepo, right? It's going to be totally different. If you wanted to just Prettierify like one app in the monorepo, you could just change your targeting string right here and only target like your part, and you'd have Prettier for your stuff at least. Anyway, so yeah, all right. Sorry, one second. What's up? How do I? Okay. So these are the 4 helpful links. If you want to go check out that PR just so you can see what happened, the link's in there as well. Here's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to create a new Angular project. God willing, the Wi-Fi holds out. Okay? We're going to add Prettier to it. For the WebStorm people, because the WebStorm is harder than the VS Code people, so I'm going to show you how to set it up in WebStorm. And then I'm just going to kind of go through, tweak the settings, and then run it so everyone can kind of see, okay, I get what it's happening now, okay? So, all right, let's do this. You guys showed up just in time. We're doing Prettier. Right. Have you guys used it before?
No.
Okay. All right, so let's create our new project. All right. Any Freddie Mercury fans? That's my computer's name, Freddie. Anyway, all right, so we're going to say, go to my source directory, ng new, what should we call this project? Angular Prettier. More pretty? Right, like that? All right. Okay. So here we go. The Wi-Fi's doing its thing for me, thank goodness. I don't have any interesting commentary for this part. I should have played a song, I Feel Pretty song from West Side Story. You guys know it? We could sing it. We're done. We're done. No more singing. Okay. It got bad. All right. Okay. So let's open this up. So everyone has used the CLI, yes? Raise your hand if you don't use the CLI. Okay, everyone knows what I just did. Okay. Open the project. Pretty. Okay. Okay, simple Angular project. That's all that's going on. Angular gives us an editor config to start with. Yeah, this is everyone knows what's going on. There's no secrets. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add Prettier in here. Okay. I'm going to make this bigger. I can't. Okay, I'm going to do it from the terminal where we can see it. Can everyone see that bottom line here? I'll pull it up so in case you're in the back, you can still see the bottom. All right. So we're going to say npm install -g. Okay. So we're going to install that schematic globally. It's going to take a second. Done. Now I'm going to run the schematic in my repo. schematic is a script to modify files and stuff. So we're going to say ng g, which means generate. Okay, thank you. And we're going to say at shard prettier add. Is that what I wanted to run? Yeah, I think that's what I want to run. Actually, I'm going to go back to my slides. I might have to add a flag onto that thing. No, we're good. Okay, so I'm just going to run this. Pretty simple. So I'm going to walk you through what it did. It created a prettier ignore file. Prettier ignore is so you can tell to not prettierify some files. Okay, because a lot of people who likes 4 indents on their spacing and their files. Who likes 2? Most people. Okay. Yeah. Spaces. What are you, nuts? This date is over. So anyway, well, if someone likes 4, for example, and prettier 4 indents your package JSON, and then you go npm install anything, npm's like, nah, let's go back to 2, and it resets your whole thing back to 2, and then you go modify it to add a new script, and prettier resets it back to 4, and then you npm install something, and it goes back to 2. So it's just stupid. So you want to add that file specifically to a prettier ignore. And if there's any other files that are getting clobbered by prettier, you're going to want to add those to the prettier ignore, as they come up. The next thing it adds is prettier.config.js. This doesn't have to be a JS file. It can be just like a dot file. .js, if you had any environment variables that you wanted to do things differently, and I don't know why you would, but you could. So it allows you to programmatically deliver the config object. Then it modifies your package JSON, adding the prettier to your package JSON, adding the post install scripts, and it kind of takes care of that for you. Prettier and tslint clash, so it turns off some tslint rules for you, and so that prettier can manage that. So you're not just constantly conflicting the two, or prettier does something and all the tslint rules turn red on you, right? Like that. So that's why it modified tslint, and then it went through your editor config, and it modified editor config so that if there was any clash in between your defaults and your editor config defaults, if your editor config is 2 and your prettier defaults are 4, then they're going to clash, and so it kind of makes sure everyone's on the same page. So let's go through and look at those changes that happen. So so it actually didn't have to do anything to the editor config. It left it the same. So let's look at the prettier ignore. That just has package.json in it. That's all added there. Package.json, it added your pre-commit script, Husky, lint stage, and prettier, and then added your Husky script that will get run. And all this is saying is use this glob and run these scripts on those globs. That's all that's saying. In case anyone hasn't used Husky, that's what's happening there. It created your prettier config with these options. So these are kind of the defaults out the gate. So who likes single quotes? Who likes double quotes? Okay. We'll change that over there. Okay, what should our print width be? Does anyone care? Is 80 too little? Does anyone care? The Lucid guy is I don't even care. All right, we'll do 140 because he's the only one helping me with this Prezzo. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Okay. So these are your only options here. As prettier roles, sometimes they'll get a new option, but it's slow at this point. It got rid of. Remember, I told you it was going to conflict on a bunch of rules, so it got rid of those rules, so you don't have to worry about those anymore. So your tslint.json just got a bit smaller, and then Yeah, your yarn log file. Yeah, I'm not going to go open that one. That's a nightmare. Anyway, okay. So let me kind of, for the WebStorm people, I'm going to set up a file watcher. If you're using VS Code, go install the Prettier extension. That's all you have to do. Let me do this for the WebStorm people. So you go here, you add a new file watcher, a custom one, call it Prettier file, watcher, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. Put it on all file types. We just want it to run on the project files. Then in here, we're just going to go to more pretty node modules. And then I'm going to say .bin/prettier. Okay. For our arguments, we're going to say this, which I took from their website. Then we're going to say that, which also I took from their website. And we're going to say this, and we're going to turn off autosave. Otherwise, it goes crazy. Okay. So that's all you really need to do to make a file watcher for I don't know. I think it's just called Prettier. If you're looking in Prettier things, there's a top option. Yeah, it should have like 300,000. I mean, it should be huge, like on the install user base. So yeah, we good? Okay. So I'm not going to save this one because once you create it, you can save it as a global watcher. So that way it's between all of you. You can reuse it in all your different WebStorm projects. You have to keep re-adding it. So I have a global one. I'm just going to enable it. Now, if I come over to my Prettier config, here, let's just open up a file. So we'll open up like app component. Okay. So it's got single quotes. If we go over here and we say false, we save this. I'm going to come in here. I'm just going to add a space and save it. So now everything's double quotes, right? So that's all you got to do going forward is you just code, save your changes when you're done. If your line was too long, it'll put it. If you shortened your line, it'll break it, put it back out on one line. Like there's a couple decisions it makes on when to like separate things out, and you're kind of done at this point. So if you were going to do like array dot push and we save this, it's going to leave it on one line. But if we yeah, so it just kind of makes decisions for you. Does that make sense? And you can see what I just did. It's going to do that for your whole project. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run Prettier on every file in the project. And just so you can kind of see what's going on. And like one thing that's going to happen, because it's kind of a default rule, it's not really configurable, is this doesn't need to be like this because there's only one thing in it. So it's gonna collapse that. Okay, that's what Prettier's going to do when I run it on the whole project. So it's going to go through and do a bunch of things. But once you add enough imports, and it's like out here, it's going to go ahead and break them up for you. So yeah.
So does it use its character line lengths to determine what point it needs to start training on?
It depends. Like it really, because it does depend. Like there's rules around like daisy chaining calls, and it treats those differently than like really long lines of code. Okay, because sometimes long lines of code aren't chained calls, and it treats those two things very differently. So like if you get two or I think it's three or more chains, it's just gonna break them up no matter, even if it's not the full width yet. And that's kind of what you're looking at. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. But you saw when I put like 8 parameters in the push, it still didn't break it onto separate lines things. So there's magic going on there that we don't know, and you don't need to know. So let's go ahead and run this on the whole thing. Okay, so we're going to run this on the whole more project. So we're going to say, God, I didn't get to explain it. It just ran it. Okay, so what I said was execute the Prettier executable. Use our Prettier config as your config file. Write means in place edits, so edit them in place, which you can get a warning because it's letting you know you're gonna have, like, you're modifying in place files. You're not making copies, and then you just give it a glob. The ticks around this glob are important. If you don't put that, then it will just do one folder deep. So put the I don't know why. Put the ticks on it. Anyway, so it kind of went through and app.po.ts. Oh yeah, po. Sorry, it's in the NN. So sorry. So if we come over here to our source and we want to kind of see what the changes were. So it changed the single ticks here to double ticks. That's really all it did in this file was single ticks to double ticks. Let's go look at app module just so we can kind of see some other changes that are going to happen. So this one, it's like, dude, too much space being used. You shouldn't be using this much space. The thing is as you're coding, I just ran on everything, but it'll automatically, as you're coding it out, you don't have to worry about what's the ESLint rule around this thing. Am I using up too much space or not enough space? Like, as soon as you hit save, it takes care of it and you're done. You don't have to worry. Like, it automatically formats it for you. And at first I thought that might be annoying. To me, it's really not. After like one day of using it, I was like, I don't even know how I ever worked without this thing. Like, this is actually really awesome. So I think that a lot of people are going to experience that. They're like, I don't even know why JavaScript wasn't like this ever. Like, this is how it should have always been. So so anyway, that's kind of how Prettier works. I don't have a lot of other things to explain about it other than it's awesome. If you have any more questions, you can talk to me about it, about how, hey, my project's like this, what do you think? Like, I'll give you my opinion for whatever that's worth. And yeah, so it's easy to use. Yeah.
Right. So I work at a company where we've got a mono repo.
Yeah.
It's actually right now we're converting from JavaScript into JS and the TypeScript to the upgrade pattern. And so all these changes that we're making, we're doing standards finally in TypeScript because JavaScript has no standards at all, which means it sucks.
ESLint, right? That's about it. That's all you
No,
got.
there's no ESLint.
Oh,
That's part of our
okay,
problem.
okay.
But we have a lot of engineers who are a little bit focused on one way to do things.
Mm-hmm.
How would you recommend trying to get other people onto the bandwagon if they're a little bit neophyte?
So that's a good question. I'm in organizations, people are like, hey man, come lead us. And I've never really architected from in front. I'm more of a architect by committee. So if I was on a team that voted to not use Prettier, I probably wouldn't use it, but I would still try and convince them and show them the benefits. But I mean, if the majority of your team, if you're in a company where the 2 or 3 people that get to decide don't want it, that sucks. Because it should be what everyone wants. But
Team that gets to decide.
Oh.
But we just want to try and convince them. Hate the idea that something else.
So a lot of my arguments I've already put out there. A lot of things I would say is, how much time have we lost on these petty discussions about ESLint, TSLint, a space after a curly brace or not, like trailing commas versus like how many files have double quotes here and single quotes here and backtick strings here. Like why don't we just have a standard that we don't even have to talk about it anymore? We're gonna just hand that over the same way we handed over the build to the Angular team. Let's hand over some of these styling things to the Prettier team, and we can just focus on delivering software to customers and not having so much conflict between us. So a lot of the things I would say, I've already said. And I would say, hey, dude, we handed over the build to the CLI. You're not complaining about that. Let's hand over this to the Prettier team. Like, you handed over type checking, and TypeScript replaces a lot of the kind of tests people used to write. Like, just by using TypeScript, there are a lot of tests that you can stop writing versus how you wrote it in JavaScript. And we handed that off. Like, we were comfortable saying, hey, let's get type inference so that we can prevent bugs from appearing. we're handing a lot of stuff off. Why not hand off Prettier as well? We don't have to worry if I have too many parameters here, and now my team lead's going to make me change it on my PR. Like, it's just those kind of nits on your PRs are really, really annoying. And so you're just getting rid of it. You're just getting rid of cruft. You're taking emotion out of the job, and you just hand it off to Prettier. Seems like it's just really simple. That's my opinion. I know not everyone's going to agree with me, but that's my opinion. Any other questions? Yeah.
What do you recommend for tools for HTML for making it nicer? Because it sounds like Prettier doesn't.
So, I'm going to be honest. Yeah, Prettier, like HTML in strings. Oh, you're talking about just in an HTML file. Yeah, Prettier doesn't touch that yet. I mean, the Prettier team's adding extensions for other languages, not just JavaScript.
It does do React, though.
You're talking JSX?
Yeah.
Oh, that's different. Yeah.
It'll wrap HTML if you tell it to include it, so it'll break it apart for you and stuff.
Okay.
It does do some styling. It won't be like, I mean, quotes are already kind of enforced
Yeah.
anyway, so the wrapping
Yeah.
does work. Through Prettier.
Yeah. So I used VS Code for a while, and one of my biggest problems with it was WebStorm is just a lot better at HTML strings than VS Code was. And I realized, like, I just got religious. And I apologize. I liked a lot of things about VS Code, a lot. And I like a lot of things about WebStorm. I don't like how much memory it uses. That sucks. But it did save me some grief in HTML templates, and that's one of the reasons why I went back to WebStorm. So, sorry. We're still all friends, I promise. Okay. But yeah, I don't have a good answer for your question, I guess is what I should say.
But sorry, it sounded like there was.
Yeah.
In the future,
Yeah.
possibly.
Yeah. So, I guess to summarize, the community's done a lot of the work for us. How do we add it? A couple people wrote blog posts about it. And then the guy in Denver, he wrote a schematic so that it couldn't be easier. So there's really not a lot you have to do anymore. It's just you can kind of get it in 10 minutes. Like I showed you, I literally started it at 5 o'clock, and I pull requested it not long after that. So you guys can see how long it took me. And then I drove up here. So it was really simple to pull to Prettierify that guy, that NPM packages project. It was really, really simple. So those who got here late didn't see that. Just to kind of do a demo, I prettiered one of the NPM packages that I use just to kind of show, hey, this is how easy it is. I did a pull request for it. And it is really simple. So with that schematic, it's stupid. You don't have to know anything anymore other than how to install the schematic and run it. And then how to configure like the 15 options you get. And then do we run it on the whole project, or do we just do it one file at a time? Like there's a lot of most of the decisions are gone. How do you do it though? Is done. It's just when you do it and a couple of the decisions around the implementation that you still have left. So, any other questions? Okay. 1 second. Okay. Again, so Aaron Frost on Twitter. Aaron Frost of Hero Devs. For those that were late, I'm running a team of like elite Angular programmers. We're building software for clients. We all got to work from home. If anyone's looking for a gig doing Angular from their house, talk to me. And the slides, this is the link for the slides. If anyone wants to have the links, I'll tweet it as well. So as soon as I sit down, I'll tweet this link to the slides so you guys can have it as well. But yeah, thanks, guys.